I'm Richard Collins. I'm 69 years old, and I used to make $200 million a year. 200 million. Let me say that again, because most people don't comprehend that number the first time. $200 million a year. I built that from nothing. My father was an electrician in Rahway, New Jersey. My mother worked at ShopRite. I went to Rutgers on a partial scholarship, got my degree in business administration, and I clawed my way up through the pharmaceutical supply chain industry for 40 years. 40 years of grinding, of learning, of building relationships, of making deals, of being smart and careful and strategic. I made it. I actually made it. I had a penthouse in Short Hills with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the Manhattan skyline that never got old. I had a wife named Sandra who stuck with me through 3 failed business ventures, through countless 100-hour weeks, through business dinners where I probably talked too much about myself. 34 years of marriage. I had 2 sons, Michael and David, both at prestigious universities. Michael was studying finance at Rutgers. David was studying economics at Villanova. I had a membership at Baltusrol Golf Club, the most exclusive golf club in New Jersey. I won Ernst & Young's Entrepreneur of the Year award. The Wall Street Journal wrote about me. I was somebody that mattered. I had a 14-story office tower on Route 9 in Paramus with my name on the brass plaque in the lobby. Colin Harrow Distribution. That was me. That was who I was. And I lost all of it in one single year. Not to a market crash that wiped out my portfolio. Not to a lawsuit that bankrupted the company. Not to regulatory investigation or bad business decisions. I lost everything to OxyContin, to a little white pill, to addiction, to something I didn't believe I could ever fall victim to. Because I was educated, because I understood how these drugs worked, because I sold them for 40 years and knew they were dangerous. The most twisted, ironic, devastating part of this story is that I sold those pills. For 4 decades, I made my fortune distributing the exact same drugs that destroyed my entire life. I was part of the system that created the opioid epidemic, and then I became the epidemic's victim. The universe has a sense of irony. In 2005, I was 58 years old, and I was at the absolute top of my game. I was doing yard work at the house in Short Hills on a Saturday afternoon in March, just trimming hedges, nothing strenuous, nothing dangerous. I bent down wrong when cutting near a flower bed, felt something pop in my lower back. It hurt, but not badly, not like I'd seriously injured myself. It was more of a dull ache that I figured would pass. I took some ibuprofen and figured it would be gone in a few days. It wasn't. After a week, it was still bothering me. I went to see Dr. Michaels, my general practitioner, at his office in Short Hills. He examined me, asked me to bend and twist, palpated my lower back with his hands. He said it looked like a minor lumbar disc strain, probably from the yard work. He said it would heal in 2 to 3 weeks with rest and ice. He wrote me a prescription anyway, without recommending physical therapy or anything else. 50-count bottle of Percocet, 5 milligrams each. 1 tablet every 6 hours, as needed for pain. Standard stuff, routine. I wasn't worried. I wasn't thinking about addiction. Why would I? I sold the stuff. I knew millions of people took opioids every single day without ever becoming addicted. I knew they were safe when prescribed by a doctor. I was a businessman, not a drug user. I didn't drink to excess. I'd never used cocaine at a party. I had an analytical mind and a strong will. I had discipline. I didn't have an addictive personality. That's the story I believed about myself. The back pain lasted longer than the 2 to 3 weeks Dr. Michaels had predicted. After 4 weeks, it was still there. I went back to see him. He examined me again and said these things sometimes take longer to heal. He gave me another 50-count bottle of Percocet. I filled it at my local Walgreens in Short Hills. Then Dr. Michaels referred me to a specialist, a pain management physician named Dr. Kamansky, who had an office in Newark. I started seeing him every 2 weeks, and he kept increasing my prescriptions. The dosage went up from 5 milligrams to 10 milligrams, then to 20, then to 80. Percocet became OxyContin. OxyContin 80 milligrams, 2 tablets 3 times a day. My insurance covered it because it was prescribed for a legitimate medical condition by a licensed physician. Everything was legal. Everything was above board. I was following the rules. And yet somewhere in the summer of 2005, something shifted inside my brain. I stopped noticing the back pain as much. The pain was becoming less important. But I started noticing other things. I started noticing how the pills made me feel. Warm, invincible, confident in a way I'd never felt before. Like I was floating 2 inches above the ground. Like all the weight and worry of the world had been lifted off my shoulders. Like I was better than I actually was. Like I was superhuman. Like I could accomplish anything. I remember the first time I took an extra pill. I told myself it was because my back was bothering me again. I told myself it was medical need. By September 2005, I was taking 40 pills a day. 40. I was consuming 8 times the dose my doctor had prescribed. And I was lying to myself about why. But people notice things. They notice even when you think you're hiding it. Sandra, my wife, noticed that I was sleeping 14 hours a day some nights. She'd find me in my office at 4 in the afternoon with my head on the desk, completely unconscious. She'd try to wake me and I'd be groggy and confused. My VP of Operations, Tom Kerr, a man who had worked with me for 15 years, noticed that I was missing board meetings. I was the company. I was supposed to be there. I started making excuses. Doctor's orders to rest, health issues, stress. My board didn't know what to do. They couldn't fire me. I owned the company. But they could see I wasn't present. Tom also noticed something else. I was approving invoices that didn't make sense. I was signing off on transactions that didn't align with our normal business practices. I started taking cash advances from company accounts, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I started filling out checks to pay for my prescriptions out of pocket because my insurance had limits. I was embezzling from my own company, stealing from myself. But my brain didn't register it as theft. My brain registered it as survival. I needed the pills. The pills made me functional. By November 2005, I was seeing Dr. Kamansky 4 times a month. I was getting prescriptions filled at 3 different Walgreens locations, one in Paramus, one in Hackensack, one in Fairlawn. I was learning to work the system from the other side now. I was a pharmaceutical executive, buying pills like a common junkie. But nobody was stopping me, because the system was designed not to stop people like me. I was educated. I was wealthy. I had a legitimate prescription from a real doctor. I had insurance. I had a respectable job. The system trusted me. By the end of 2005, I had lost 30 pounds. I had dark circles under my eyes. My hand shook in the morning until I took my pills. Sandra had stopped asking me questions. My sons came home from university for Thanksgiving, and I barely recognized them. And they barely recognized me. In January 2006, I went to the office one morning and found my 3 senior board members waiting for me in the conference room. Tom Kerr, James Sullivan, and Patricia Howe. They had the audit. $200,000 in prescriptions paid from company accounts over 18 months. They had called a law firm. They tell me I had 2 options. Option 1, I could resign immediately and quietly. They would report it as personal medical matter, discreet, civilized, no criminal investigation. Option 2, report everything to federal authorities. I would face federal charges. I would probably go to prison. I resigned that day. I walked out of the office that had been my life. I told Sandra I was stepping down for health reasons. She didn't believe me. She'd already called a lawyer. My sons came home and confronted me. Michael, my oldest, looked at me and said, "Dad, you're high right now, aren't you?" I couldn't even deny it. The look on his face, I still see that look every single day. Now, I didn't have a salary. I didn't have health insurance. And I needed pills every single day just to function. I needed 80 milligrams of OxyContin every 8 hours. That was 240 milligrams a day. Dr. Kamansky was getting nervous. He started refusing to increase my doses. So I started doctor shopping, driving the Garden State Parkway, looking for pain clinics that would see me, making up new injuries, failed back surgery, chronic pain syndrome, sciatica, walking into clinics in my business suits, trying to convince them I was legitimate. Some would prescribe, some wouldn't. Those who wouldn't, I just find another doctor. I burned through my savings. Then I started selling things. Artwork, my mother's jewelry, my daughter-in-law's wedding gift. I stopped paying property taxes on the house in Short Hills. The mortgage went unpaid. Everything was going to pills. By April 2006, I've been discharged from 3 more pain clinics. I tried to find work. No one would hire me. My name was still on the building on Route 9, but new ownership had taken over. I called my old office once. Tom Kerr picked up. He said he was sorry, but there was nothing they could do. The company had already moved on. In May, Sandra filed for divorce. She didn't even make it adversarial. She just left. She took David and moved to Pennsylvania. Michael stayed in the dorm. The house in Short Hills went into foreclosure. I had 90 days to vacate. No job. No income. $35,000 in outstanding prescriptions. That's when I called a number from a guy in a Walgreens waiting room. A connection. Someone who could get me what I needed. OxyContin pills. Street price was about $1 per milligram. I needed 20 pills a day. That was $1,600 a day. I had no money. I had no job. What I had was a name. Connections. I started introducing people. My pharmaceutical connections with dealers. I became a middleman, taking a commission. 50 pills here, 100 pills there. Enough to cover my habit and make a small amount of cash. By September 2006, I was living in a house I didn't own. Utilities shut off. Sleeping under every blanket I owned. I was selling pills to people whose names I didn't know. Making deals in parking lots. Unrecognizable. My driver's license had been suspended after 2 DUIs. I got pulled over a third time in December with drugs in the car. The officer knew who I'd been. He was embarrassed for me. He cuffed me in my own driveway while my neighbors watched. County jail for 6 months. Cold turkey from OxyContin. The withdrawal was worse than anything I've experienced. Sweating, muscles on fire, couldn't sleep. My cellmate Marcus asked if I was all right. I told him the truth. I'd built a $200 million company and ended up here because I couldn't stop taking pills. He looked at me and said, "Boss, that's the most honest thing I think I've heard anybody say in this place." I took a plea deal in June 2007. 3 years probation, $50,000 in restitution, mandatory rehab, drug testing for 5 years. I was clean for the first time in 2 years, and it was the loneliest feeling because sobriety meant facing what I'd done. When I got out, I had nowhere to go. My sister Janet let me stay for 3 months. I looked for work. No one would hire me. Found a room at the Route 9 Motor Lodge. $75 a night. The settlement was $60,000. The room is 12 by 14 feet. A bed, a chair, a window facing Route 9. The same highway I drove down every morning. The same building is still there. 14 stories. My name is still on the lease. I joined an AA group, Thursday nights. 3 years now. I count every day sober. The group is people like me, guys who lost everything. My sponsor is Jack, who works in construction. His son died of a heroin overdose. Jack doesn't judge. I work at a Walgreens now. Stock shelves. Night shift because I couldn't handle being near the pharmacist counter. I keep one thing in my room. The original prescription bottle from Dr. Michael's from 2005. Empty now. I keep it as a reminder. I'm not that person anymore. I'm just Richard, a guy trying to get through the day, trying to stay sober, trying to live with what he did, trying to find some meaning in surviving when everything he built is gone. What I can do now is tell this story. This is what I can do. I can be honest about what happened to me. I can be honest about how it happened. I can say out loud that I was an executive in the pharmaceutical industry, that I distributed the exact pills that destroyed me, and that for 7 years I believed I could use them differently, that I could take them and not lose myself, that the rules didn't apply to me because I understood the system, and I was completely, utterly, totally wrong. If you're watching this and you're taking pills prescribed to you, be honest about how they make you feel. If they make you feel invincible, if they make you feel like you're superhuman, tell someone immediately. Tell your doctor. Tell your family. Tell a friend. Don't believe the story you're telling yourself that you can manage it. Don't believe that you're different. Don't believe that the rules don't apply to you, because they apply to all of us. They applied to me, and I lost everything because I believed I was the exception. I want to tell you that you're not the exception. I want to tell you that I'm not special. I want to tell you that this can happen to anyone. And maybe you'll listen to me. Maybe you won't. But I had to try. I had to say it. Because if I don't say it, then everything I lost means nothing. If I don't turn this into something, then I'm just a cautionary tale. And I don't want to be just a cautionary tale. I want to be someone who learned, someone who survived, someone who's still trying.